Hey, how's it going and welcome along. I'm Rory from Rate My Funeral. That was Rate, by the way. So welcome to another tech review, and oh, this is so exciting. I have been sent another 3D scanner. So I'm so excited to get this open and have a look. This has been very kindly sent to me by 3D Maker Pro ahead of its launch. Honestly, I'm really keen to see what it's like. I can't wait to get it out of the box. It's called the Mole, and that's obviously a great name for a 3D scanner. I don't know why, but it is. But anyway, it's boasting a bunch of really interesting features, like the fact that its minimum scanning size is 15 by 15 by 15 millimeters. It's got an accuracy of 0.05, a resolution of 0.1. It captures at a frame rate of 10 frames per second, and it can output in PLY, OBJ, and STL. And the bit that I'm quite interested in, because obviously it's the big thing right now, is that it's got AI-empowered software to help make the scans work better. And the reason I find that interesting is that, to be honest, the scanners that I've reviewed, the scanners themselves are really good, but it's the software that always seems to be the thing that holds them back. So I'm really curious to see, is this software going to be awesome? Is this going to work really well? Another feature that it mentions about is being able to scan deep blacks. Let's see if it can do it. But first, let's figure out how to get this box open. Aha! Bit much? Okay, so the very first point is this has come in a little case. How cool is that? It's not just a box, it's a case. I love a case. I can't open it. To be fair, it's not that exciting yet, it's just the phone. Okay, so let me hold this up for you just there so you can see what we get inside. So honestly, I'm an absolute sucker for anything with cutouts in foam in a case. It's like one of the best things in the world. Obviously that's the turntable, but look at that. That's the silica gel. Look at that. So we've got various different cables, and they look like decent quality cables. That's nice. Various different adapters for what region you're in. So I've got a UK American plug and so on. Again, nice touch. Couple of tools. A little adapter plate, a tripod, nice, a USB stick, the turntable, and then, ooh, the unit itself, which is really cool looking. Let me come over here and show you. That is the unit. Let's upgrade this, let's do a turntable. This is the Mole, and it's got a 0.05 accuracy, so that means it can capture extremely fine details with really high precision, according to the datasheet at least. Apparently it's capable of scanning black objects, which is obviously really challenging for the other 3D scanners due to low reflectivity. Apparently this one does this through multispectral technology that uses both visible and infrared light to capture the data. It's claiming that it's got no marker technology as well, meaning that you don't need to put markers on the objects that you're scanning. And also you can scan with this either handheld or using a turntable. According to the datasheet, this is a very capable, cool thing. It feels pretty decent. It feels nice and weighty. It's got a nice sort of texture to it. Doesn't feel cheap. At the same time, it's not too heavy, but there's a little bit of weight sort of inside. You can kind of feel there's a kind of slightly off center of gravity there, which in all fairness feels good if you're doing hand scanning. The weight is quite well balanced. So I've got high hopes, but obviously the proof's in the pudding, as they say, it's somewhere, I don't know where. What's it actually like if you want to scan an object? Let's get on with that then. Something important to note then, I guess, is it has a proprietary connector here, which allows it to combine power and USB. And again, this is another problem I've had with other scanners, where the USB power alone has not seemed enough. So the idea that it's injecting a separate power as well as the USB, again, gives me really high hopes. So just to give you a bit of a close-up, this is quite interesting. So, as I say, proprietary socket, proprietary connector. You spin it till it's in the right orientation and then click it into place. Now that is not coming out of there. You have to really pull at this cable to get that out. That's really good because it means you shouldn't accidentally pull the cable out. The one thing I would say, and this is only an initial thought, is the fact that it's coming out of the bottom then means your tripod usage is potentially limited. But it will work with the one that it comes with, and that's what matters at the moment. It fits onto the tripod very easily. It's just a thread screw and boom, you're on there with a little nice three-legged splayed tripod. It's decent quality and it's made of metal, so sturdy, like it. As I mentioned, it does come with this little adapter, so you can attach that to a tripod and move it out. So it does give us an option, meaning that maybe that tripod issue isn't an issue. So in the other end of that power cable goes your PSU, like that. Pretty simple. Plug this into the wall. So I've just plugged this in, and it's now actually making a little whirring noise, which means there's a fan inside. That's got to be a good thing, right? So now you join me over on the PC, and I've inserted the USB stick that came with it. We've got a few files in here. We've got the software itself, we've got a Mac version, a Windows version, the manual for the scanner, and the manual for the software. We've also got this text file, which I have to admit, I'm not completely sure what it is. I'm assuming it's some calibration data thing that they include to say, look, we've done this, and you've got all the numbers. But I'm going to go ahead and install the studio now. Okay, so that has installed, so let's run that and find out what it's all about. So what I'm presented with, I've got start scanning or I've got edit mode. So I guess, let's start scanning. Wow, okay, so there's quite a lot going on here. So first of all, my antivirus is asking about, am I allowed to do this? So I guess, yep, this is fine. Next, we are seeing a view of that the camera is giving. There it is, look. Okay, wow. So keep the object, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to leave it all as default. Let's find out what happens. So I have this here is a 3D printed bust of Spider-Man, and I thought this would be a good starting point. Let's see if we can scan this in and pop that on the turntable like that. Switch that on. Now I'm going to go back to the software, and there we can see our character there, and we can see our model in the middle there. So let's go ahead and press scan. Right, okay, so it does seem like it is scanning the object. So I'll let that do a complete revolution, and then I'll adjust a bit to get in the top of his head. Okay, so that looks pretty decent, so I'm going to hit the button here to stop it. That's now going to rebuild. So what I'm thinking will happen next, obviously I'm learning this as I go, but what I believe is going to happen next is that will then create the mesh cloud for this, and I can then tell it, no, I want to add more to it. And then what I'm hoping is that it can recapture the tracking points that it's figured out where it is, and it will carry on doing it. So I can adjust this and get maybe like the top of his head in, for example. Oh, right, okay. So yeah, over here, what we can see, sure enough, yep, there's our Spider-Man bust point cloud. Missed a bit around the shoulder, but I think we can probably get that. There's a little gap in his chest there as well. So I'm assuming we press append. That takes us back to scanning. So I was just adjusting this before, just to make this sit up a little bit higher. One thing I might suggest is that having a tripod that you can adjust the height would make this a little bit easier. Right, so let's go ahead and hit scan, and hopefully it will find its tracking point. It looks like it has. Excellent, good. Keep going, keep going. So I'll go ahead and hit stop now. And again, I believe that should now be adding that data to the original scan, meaning we've got a whole model. It might have just missed the very, very top of the head. And I could probably do with putting it a bit closer and doing it once more, just to get the very top of the head. I don't know whether this was me, but I've now actually got two separate scans. I've got the head there and I've got the body there. Drag one item to align. So what? Oh, hang on, align, auto or manual. Select the model to align. To be honest, this is probably a lot more about me learning how to use this software in front of you rather than doing it ahead of time so that I come to you knowing what I'm talking about. But I always prefer the idea that in case you're having these kinds of problems, you can see that I had them too. So I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to press append and I'm going to do one more scan. Because of how I believe this is working. And again, I'll just say, I could be completely wrong. So I'm going to do scan here. I want to get a bit more. get a bit more of that, the top of that head in. It's not high enough. Right. We're going to attempt to hold it. So now I'm doing the hand version as well, although it is rotating, so it's kind of cheating. It's hard to hold over here and look over there at the same time, but it does look, certainly at least from here, it looks like it's keeping the tracking really well. Right, so that's the whole of the top, so I'm gonna actually lower this. We'll come down there. And now I'm going to hold it here for a minute. And looking at it, if I'd have done this the very first time, I probably would have scanned the whole model in one go. Right, I'm going to go ahead and hit stop. But this is the whole thing about learning it as we go, you know. I mean, the different softwares always work a little bit differently. The interface on this one is quite nice. It certainly looks like a slick piece of software. I'm really hoping that that automatic alignment thing means I can just drag each one into that thing, hit a line, and boom, it'll connect it all together into one single mesh. Right. Yeah, see that one, I've scanned pretty much all of them in just in the one. So, item to align. Let's put number 4 in there, press align, and let's just see what happens. My favourite way when playing with new software is literally, don't be afraid to press buttons and see what it does. There's literally so many things I've learned from just jabbing at something until it did something else. It's great. In this case though, maybe not, because yeah, it's created some kind of weird Spider-Man hybrid. So that number 3 really didn't work. The 2 and 4 did though, look. And to be fair, that looks like that's done the job. So that looks pretty good. Now we could add more scans to this. We've got a few interesting options at the side here. Remove noises, repair, simplify. I don't know, do you know what? I'm just going to press all of them. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit process. Name your file. Oh, okay, Spider-Man. Save project. I love the software. I love all these animations and so on. Select the data to be processed. Yep, those two. Okay, apply. So multi-rebuild. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how long this is going to take. Let's skip this for you for now, and I'll tell you how long it took at the end. Right, it says export process data now. So that's done. That took about 3 minutes, and I'd clicked all of the buttons. Let's hit apply and see what happens next. Oh, reorientate axis. I'll leave that off for now. Okay, so it's just let me save that, but I've just spotted that in the background, and that looks really good. Oh, I'm really excited. Right, okay. That is a fantastic scan. You can even see that's the seam from the 3D print. And whoa, that is good. Look how good that is. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit too excited here, but I'm not being funny, but that looks incredible. And I know this was the best case for it because, you know, it's a nice matte color, but wow, that is good. So my test that I like to do here is I like to now take that model and put that straight into my Prusa slicer, which is my 3D printing slicer that I use. But I've lost where it saved the folder. I've lost where it saved the file to, so I need to just double check this. Right, okay. It's created a folder called Workspace. All right, I found it now. Right, so back to this, and I'm just going to drop the OBJ into there. There it is. It's the correct size. Let's put that on the floor. And obviously in here what we would do is come down to about there and just perform cut and keep the upper part. Oh, we need to do a bit more. So get rid of some of that other junk. There is still a little bit more of it. Yeah, this is all fine tuning. I don't really need to be messing with this now, but right, but there we go. So there's our Spider-Man model, which in here, again, there's no holes. That looks absolutely spot on. I'm set to the 8-inch nozzle at the moment, so I'm just going to reduce this to 8-inch nozzle. Imagine 3D printing with an 8-inch nozzle. Right, I'm going to set this to speed 2. Yeah, so right, so pretty typical print speeds. Let's slice it and let's see what it does. Amazing. Right, let me set that to 10 and do that again. My infill just then was really heavy, so there was a lot going on inside it. But whoa, yes, perfect. So that is absolutely amazing. We have just literally taken a 3D print, rescanned it, and now made it so that we could now 3D print it again. It took around about 10 minutes. That is awesome. Right, I need to try some other objects and see how we get on. I still can't get over how good that looks in there. Oh, it's so cool. Right, well that was a lot of scanning. I've just done a bunch of bits and pieces to get an idea, and I have now imported them into Cinema 4D, which is the 3D editing software that I typically use. And here I thought we'll just start with the Spider-Man, which, to be frank, has come out amazingly. This is such a good scan. I love the fact that you can even see the seam of the 3D printing in there. There is an awful lot of detail here, and if I actually switch this to the mesh view, you can see that the actual mesh that it's created is pretty good. This is not horrific. Yeah, it's absolutely not game ready. Overall, that's a good quality mesh, and if I was to run this through a remesher, so remesh, and then reduce that polygon density down to about 20%. There's a little bar here, this just takes a second. But there we can already see how quickly and easily we can clean that up and make a pretty decent mesh without touching a polygon. You know, it's really quite impressive. That would now be a perfect 3D print. So if I didn't have access to the original file and I wanted to recreate that, there's a way I could do that quite easily. And to be honest, we could even drop that probably down another 10%, and boom, you know, there's now, you know, that mesh is good. So overall, that's really impressive. So let's just switch off and go back to the normal shading mode for a moment. And then what I'm going to do is have a look at the next model that I made. So let's switch that one off. And the next one was a plimsoll. This was a little black plimsoll. And the material elements came out really well. You can see that's not bad at all, but I could not get it to pick up the rubber on the sole. It did it a little bit there, so that is where, you know, using some advanced techniques, maybe putting a bit of powder on it or adjusting the lighting, really tweaking it. You could probably do it because of the fact that I have this area here that it did work. But yeah, for where I was playing with it, I could not get it to scan that. So the plimsoll didn't come out so great. And yeah, we can see the mesh is, again, it's quite decent on there. But yeah, not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So next one is a remote. Now this was a particularly hard thing to scan because it was quite reflective, but in all honesty, I actually think that's done not a bad job. I didn't do any tweaking, I didn't do any kind of special things with the light, didn't put any powder on it, shampoo. Yeah, it's not come out too badly at all. It's definitely not absolutely perfect, but for scanning a troublesome item, that's pretty good. Next, I tried an apple, and in all honesty, this did not work. I could not get it to kind of keep a track on the apple. It was being really problematic, and that's what it's ended up with. So, yeah, the apple just didn't work. Next, I thought I would try something really tricky, and this is a PlayStation 5 controller. Now, what makes this difficult is the fact that there's shiny white and shiny piano black on it. So the way I managed to get actually so much detail in here was I did one run with the brightness set quite low, and that picked up all the white areas. Then I did another run with the brightness set really high, which then picked up the black areas. And it's definitely not perfect on the thumbsticks, but the rest of it's actually pretty good. So for example, if I now wanted to create a cradle that this sits in, this is perfect for doing that. Yep, it might not be great as a 3D model to maybe use in a game. To be honest, it's not a bad starting point. You could certainly remesh it down to low polygons and then tweak it and get it probably pretty decent. But for creating something like a holder, spot on. So I'm actually really impressed with how well that's come out. Finally, I did a bread roll, which, to be fair, when you look at it on here, doesn't look all that exciting, but this has come out really well. This is the detail in there, and it scanned really easily. It took 2 passes, and that's come out exactly like the bread roll is. It's all perfectly to scale. We can see here, we look at the mesh, it's fairly clean. If we run that now through a remesh and set it down to say 10%, you can see now that is good. If you put a nice bit of texturing on this and made it a decent color, you could definitely use this as like a high poly, low poly for a game model. Chuck it on the counter of a 3D rendered kitchen or something like that. But either way, it's come out really well. So I'm really impressed with that overall. And just for a small selection of items, giving them a try, you know, it was really easy and pretty quick to get to this stage and try out these different things. And with this technology, it's a really hard thing to get it, you know, to really sort of hone it in. So it takes a lot of practice. And yeah, if you put the effort in, you can get some really interesting and really great results. And that is the mole from 3D Maker Pro. And yeah, overall, I'm really impressed. A couple of points that I did discover. So in the software, you can use that automatic align, but there is also a way to do it manually. If the automatic has any trouble, you can kind of click on some points on the object and it will automatically fix it. You can also reorientate within the software, so you can make sure the bottom is in line with the floor plane, so that when you export it, there's less to do. I was not able to get the texture scanning mode to work. When I turn it on, it causes the light to flash on the front here, but it gives me no preview. Now, I don't know whether that's to do with the software I've got, I'm not sure. One thing I did discover, I didn't spot this when I was first playing with this, but the software detected this as a lizard scanner, which is another scanner by 3D Maker Pro. So I then downloaded the latest version of JM Studio, installed that, and now it discovered this as a mole. So all the scans after the Spider-Man were done with that version. So overall, it is a great little scanner. There's another product about to release for this as well, called the 3D Maker Pro Connect, which actually allows you to connect a phone to this and allows mobile scanning, where you can go out and about and get something in the field. That's quite cool. I maintain I'm not a fan of the cable placement coming out of the bottom here. I understand why they've done it. It makes it so when you're holding it, the cable comes out the bottom, great. But when you're using it on a tripod and you're picking the tripod up, it's right there, it's right in the way. It's a bit annoying. It's just the tiniest little thing that I wasn't so keen on. I do love the packaging it came in. I love the fact that it comes in a case. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a sucker for something coming in a case with the foam cutouts. I've done that with so many of my own things that I've bought and then done it. Oh, I love that. And overall, the software seems pretty decent. It's relatively intuitive in most places. There were a few tools that I couldn't either get to work or couldn't figure out what they're for. For example, there's a lasso where you can supposedly select areas, but I could not get it to work. I assumed that it's so that you can select maybe a bunch of artifacts that it's picked up and tell it not to include them. For whatever reason, probably me, couldn't get that to work. Maybe it will come in an update, I don't know. But overall, it's not a major issue, because as you saw, I'll just export them into my 3D software and I would tweak them there anyway, so it's fine. As of the time of releasing this video, the price is yet to be announced, so I can't tell you how much it actually is, because I simply don't know. So if you are interested in one of these, head down into my description, you'll find a link that takes you to it and you can see how much they cost there. In summary, it is a good little scanner. It still suffers with a lot of the typical issues that you get with scanning, which is to do with reflective surfaces and transparent items. Now, you can alleviate these issues by using scanning spray or powders or whatever, and with a bit of effort you can get really good results. But there's a learning curve. You won't just pick this up and boom, you're scanning and it's all perfect. You have to put in a bit of effort, but if you do, it's really impressive what you can achieve with it. And that's just about it from me, so thank you very much for joining. As I say, do check the description for all the details. A massive big shout out and a thank you to 3D Maker Pro for sending me this to have a play with. I'm really pleased you did. I really like it. Great little product. I'm really excited for the launch. And if you did enjoy this video, please do me a favor, hit that like button, and if you hit the subscribe button, followed by the little bell, you'll see when I release new videos. Okay, thank you very much, and bye for now.